I'm 74 years old now, and it took me most of my life to understand something that should have been obvious. I was almost never really there. Not with my wife, not with my children, not even with myself. I was always somewhere else, even when I was sitting right in front of the people I loved. And the strange thing is, for a long time, I thought I was doing everything right. I'm not telling you this for sympathy. At my age, that doesn't matter much anymore. I'm telling you because I can finally see it clearly now. And clarity doesn't come early. It comes when there's not much left to do with it. These days are quiet. Too quiet, if I'm honest.
The house makes small sounds at night. The refrigerator hums. The floor creaks in places I've stepped over for decades. There's a chair in the corner that no one sits in anymore. I still glance at it sometimes, out of habit. I spend a lot of time thinking. Not on purpose, it just happens. And when your life slows down like this, you start noticing what was missing. Not what you lost, what you never gave. I used to think being present meant showing up, being physically there, providing, doing your part. I was very good at that. I worked hard, long hours, sometimes 2 jobs when things were tight. I made sure the bills were paid, the kids had what they needed, the roof didn't leak. I didn't drink much, didn't gamble, didn't run around. By all accounts, I was a good man. But I wasn't a present one. Back then, in my 20s and 30s, life felt like a series of responsibilities stacked on top of each other. You wake up, you go to work, you come home tired, you eat, maybe watch something on TV, and then you sleep. Repeat that for years, and it starts to feel normal. You don't question it. I remember coming home one evening, still in my work clothes, boots dusty, shoulders tight from the day. My son ran up to me with something in his hand, a drawing, I think. He was talking fast, excited about it. I nodded. I said, "That's nice." I don't remember what the drawing was. I remember looking past him, toward the couch, thinking about sitting down. That moment didn't feel important at the time. It felt like any other evening. That's how it happens. The important things don't announce themselves. They just pass through your hands quietly. My wife used to talk to me while I ate, just small things. Something she read, something the kids did, something she was worried about. I'd listen, or at least I thought I was listening, but my mind was always somewhere else. Work problems, bills, things that needed fixing, plans for tomorrow. I'd respond just enough to keep the conversation going. She noticed, of course. I can see that now. There were times she stopped mid-sentence and just looked at me. I'd say, "What?" And she'd shake her head. Nothing. At the time, I thought she was being difficult. Now I realize she was already starting to feel alone. But there wasn't a big fight, no dramatic moment where everything broke. It was slower than that. Quieter. We still laughed sometimes. We still sat together. We still did what families do. But something was missing, and I didn't have the awareness to see it. I kept telling myself I was doing this for them, working hard, staying focused, making sure the future would be secure. There's a comfort in that kind of thinking. It makes everything feel justified. If you're sacrificing the present, it must be for something important, right? That's what I believed. Years passed like that. My children grew up in pieces I barely noticed. A school play I missed because of overtime. A weekend I spent fixing something instead of going out with them. Conversations I postponed because I was tired. There's always a reason if you look for one. And I always found one. I don't remember a single day where I said, I choose work over them. It was never that clear. It was smaller choices, almost invisible. I'll sit with them tomorrow. I'll talk to her when things calm down. I just need to get through this week. But weeks turn into months, months turn into years, and suddenly the time you thought you had is gone. The turning point didn't come in some dramatic way. It was a phone call. My daughter had moved out by then. She was grown, living her own life. We didn't talk as much as I thought we would, but I told myself that was normal. People get busy. That's what I always said. The call came late in the evening. She sounded different. Not upset exactly, just distant. We talked for a bit, small things, surface level. Then there was a pause, and she said, "Dad, I don't really know you." She didn't say it cruelly. That's what made it worse. It was just a fact, spoken plainly. I remember sitting there, holding the phone, not knowing what to say. Because she was right. I didn't know her either. Not really. Not in the way a father should. I knew the basics, her job, where she lived, the outline of her life. But the deeper parts, her fears, her thoughts, the things that shaped her, I had missed those. Not because I didn't care, but because I wasn't there when it mattered. After that call, I started noticing things more. The silence in conversations, the way my wife had stopped trying to tell me certain things, the distance that had quietly grown over years. There wasn't a single moment where it all fell apart. It had already happened. I just hadn't been paying attention. A few years later, my wife got sick. It wasn't sudden, but it moved faster than we expected. Hospitals have a way of slowing everything down. You sit there for hours, watching machines, listening to sounds you don't understand. There's a lot of time to think. I sat beside her bed, holding her hand, trying to be present. Really present. But it felt unfamiliar, like I was learning something too late. She would look at me sometimes, and there was kindness in her eyes. No anger, no blame. That almost made it harder, because I realized she had already accepted me as I was, even when I wasn't fully there. One night she asked me very quietly, "Where do you go when you're not here?" I didn't understand at first. She smiled a little and said, "You've always been somewhere else." I wanted to explain, to justify it, to say I was doing my best, but none of that felt true anymore. So I just said, "I don't know." And that was the first honest answer I had given in a long time. She passed away not long after that. There are moments you think you'll remember clearly forever, but what stays with you isn't always what you expect. I don't remember the exact words from her last day. What I remember is the feeling that I had been given years to be with her, truly with her, and I had spent most of them distracted. That's the part that doesn't go away. That's the part you carry. Now, when I sit in this quiet house, I think about all the small moments I treated like they didn't matter. The conversations I rushed, the times I said later, the way I was always waiting for a better moment to be present. I thought presence was something you could choose when everything else was in order. But life doesn't work that way. There is no perfect time. There is only now, and whether you're actually in it. I wasn't. Not in the way that mattered. And the truth is, you don't feel the cost right away. That's what makes it dangerous. You don't wake up one day and realize you've lost something. You realize it slowly, in pieces. A conversation that feels empty. A relationship that feels distant. A memory that isn't there because you weren't paying attention when it happened. That's how it adds up. Quietly. If you're listening to me, I don't know your life. I don't know your responsibilities, your struggles, the things that keep your mind busy. I'm not here to tell you what you should do. I spent too many years thinking I knew that. All I can tell you is this. Being there physically, isn't the same as being present. You can sit in the same room with someone for years and still not really see them. You can hear their voice and not actually listen. You can love them and still make them feel alone. I did that. Not on purpose, not with bad intentions, but it happened anyway. And intentions don't change the outcome. If I could go back, I wouldn't change the big things. The job, the house, the responsibilities, those were part of life. But I would change the small moments. I would look up more, listen longer, sit in the silence without rushing to fill it. I would treat ordinary evenings like they mattered. Because they did, more than I ever understood at the time. There's a strange kind of loneliness that comes from realizing you were present for so little of your own life. You remember events, but not the feeling of them. You remember people, but not the depth of your connection. It's like watching your own life from a distance. That's what it feels like now. I still talk to my children. We have a relationship, but there's a part of it that never fully formed. You can't rebuild that completely. You can try, you can make an effort, and I do. But time doesn't return what it takes. It just keeps moving. If this means something to you, you don't have to say anything. Just notice where your mind goes when you're with the people you care about. That's all. I didn't notice mine.